ready to go live. And we're live. That's exciting. Hello, everyone. How are you? How's it going? I'm so excited to see you again for another Cambridge social media live training, live talks, call it whatever you want. We will be doing these on a weekly basis. Again, we will be bringing you an amazing, exciting guest expert every single week. We will be talking about anything and everything, social media marketing, digital marketing for small businesses related. So welcome. Fingers crossed that my Wi-Fi will survive because it's been a journey lately. So if there are any issues, I apologize ahead. If we crash, we will come back. But without any further ado, I want to introduce you to our first guest, a returning guest, Andy Lambert from Content Cal. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Lenka. Hello, good to be back. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, it's exciting. And you have probably one of the hardest jobs ever because you need to keep an eye on all the new trends and updates and changes and then summarize them and translate them to us in a meaningful way. So I will not be taking any more of your time and I will let you do your thing.
Thank you very much. Definitely not the hardest job ever. I think my wife has that because having to homeschool two children. So I think she will take the prize for the hardest job. But yeah, I'll take the praise. So thank you. If anyone's seen me talk and do this thing before, they'll know in advance and be well prepared that this will be high energy, fast paced. That's why I'm standing up because there's a lot to cover. We last did one of these in November. So much happened in the world of social over the course of last year. It's kind of slightly disorientating because change is happening all the time. So this is the session which Lenka really kindly allows me to provide for the community to really just help you within the next hour or so, hopefully less, I'll speak quickly, but to really get on top of what's happened in the world of social and digital, the changes you need to know and what you can do about it. So hopefully this is your kind of monthly check-in so you can go, right, I know what's happening. I know the new things that I can take advantage of and then help inform your strategy going into 2021. I'll make the slides available for everyone. We'll send them out. Lenka and I'll figure out a way. And yeah, we'll go from here. So let's start with this. So this is report over the last year. We saw 12% annual growth of social media users. And really, I mean, whilst that it's hard to understand numbers that are that big, but I think when you look at numbers added in the last month, 450,000 social media users added in the last month, and it helps us understand that, wow, social media is growing at a ridiculous rate. It's now just about 3.5 billion users of social media channels across the world. And bear in mind, there's just over how many people in the world? Around 6 billion. So we're over half the world that's using social. Unbelievable way of connecting us all. So how are people using these social channels for marketing purposes? And it's the focus of this session is all about, how we can use social to market our businesses. This was some data out from Hootsuite, which is really good. So Instagram leading the charge and attracting new marketing spend. So on the left-hand side, this is what people are planning on increasing their investment in. Insta and Facebook. YouTube's actually jumped up there, and so is LinkedIn. So it's quite interesting to see YouTube taking more of a share. I often talk about it being an underutilized channel, so that's encouraging to see. Little bits around like Snapchat and TikTok, to be honest, but it's not gaining like a marketing share of budget as you might expect from everything that's said in the press. On the right-hand side, marketing is doubling down on well-established platforms. So when you start to ask marketers about what are the channels that actually get you the reach, very much Facebook and Instagram dominate, with then followed by LinkedIn and Twitter. So you can actually see that it's important that we don't get too distracted by all of the new shiny glossy things that we will cover today, because there are some real tried and tested areas and channels that drive results. So all that glitters isn't gold, basically. This was another interesting study that came off the back of that one, which is about multi-channel campaigns show a 35% effectiveness improvement. So essentially what that means is that if you were just running a campaign just on Facebook, by adding each additional channel, the data, according to analytics partners, shows a 35% improvement for each additional channel. So if you think you're putting something out on Facebook, make sure you're considering it across multiple different social channels, Insta, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., and also considering multiple different formats as well. So it might be email or your blog, for example. So whatever piece of content you're creating, think repurposing, think multi-channel, because the more channels you put your content in, the bigger your ROI will be. And I thought this data was actually really interesting to demonstrate that numerical value of 35% improvement. The rise of forgotten demographics. We often talk about millennials, Generation X or Z or whatever, I forget what they're all called. But actually over the last year, over 70% of 55 to 64-year-olds, actually this is January data, sorry, over 70% of 55 to 64-year-olds have bought something online in the last month. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of buying power in this demographic. So if you're marketing your business, whatever business that you're in, small, large, whatever, and you think, actually, well, social doesn't work for me because we market, I don't know, care homes, we market, hearing aids, whatever. I'm being incredibly, excuse my examples, right? But whatever we're marketing, right, depending on the age demographic, don't forget digital and social, because clearly this demographic have fantastic purchasing power, and the amount of them buying things online, because all of the behavior change has been forced upon us. So, and this is going to continue over the course of 21, which is the reason that's driving all of this social media and e-commerce growth. It's all driven by everything that's happening in the world right now. And we're going to continue to see that trend. So don't forget any demographics. Everyone basically is on social now. Brand purpose continues to be crucial. These studies are always a bit flawed in my view, because essentially if you ask someone, if I asked Lenka, would you buy for a brand that you agreed with their values or don't agree with their values, you would typically say, yeah, I'd rather buy for a brand that I agree with the values. I think sometimes this is a bit flawed because I think deep down we all don't like Amazon, but most of us still buy products from Amazon. But brand purpose on a social media perspective continues to be critical. And I think the top point is a really important one. So brand operating to its values and principles, basically brands living their ambition. Patagonia is a fantastic example of that. They talk lots about the circular economy in their content. They talk lots about sustainability, and lo and behold, they're the first brand that now are allowing previous purchasers of their clothes to bring them back into stores so they can be resold as used clothes. First clothing brand to start reselling used clothes, and I love that. IKEA are on a similar trajectory, and also the same thing if you follow a guy, the CEO James from BrewDog, the beer company, obviously UK based, and they have very strong sustainability mission. They use social as a platform for that, and it helps drive so much affinity to the brand, as you can see through this data. So be really clear about your mission and your purpose, because ultimately that helps drive affinity across a target audience. The return of organic marketing both makes Lenka and me smile. I expect this was data that's B2B orientated, so business marketing to other businesses through the Content Marketing Institute. But the top 5 things here are all critical. People investing more in content creation, in websites, in digital events, in content distribution, organic and paid, and in social media and community building. This is businesses now that typically have always orientated towards having a sales team doing cold calls or doing trade shows and events. Businesses are dramatically pivoting how they're marketing to other businesses, looking and turning to an organic community to build that. So through the rise of events and virtual events that we've all seen, to the rise of like audio first tools, be it Clubhouse, be it podcasting, organic marketing for businesses is very much where their investment's going to be going, and a huge amount of investments happening around content creation. So if people are on this that are content writers or social media managers, etc., this is a good time to be talking to B2B businesses, because there is, for the amount of content they want to create, there's clearly lacking the resource to do it. So other trends that you need to be aware of that can help you. 73% of people more likely to buy if they see an explainer video. That will also sit nicely with the fact that we saw just a couple of slides back an increasing investment in YouTube. So video remains to be critical. The second one's really interesting. So nearly 3/4 of CFOs are looking to make remote work permanent for all or some employees. Now, you might see that's a bit of a one that we shouldn't really cover in a session like this, but I think that has a fascinating dynamic for how people will be using social media, right? Because if businesses and employees from businesses spend more time at home, they have more time on social, they have more time to watch webinars, they have more time to engage with white papers and podcasts or Clubhouse or whatever it might be. And that is going to be transformative to how our content is consumed. And it also plays really nicely into the chart that we just saw, where businesses are recognizing that actually, people are going to be at home a lot. They're going to spend more time browsing the web, educating themselves. So that's why people are investing more in organic content creation. Third point, 71% of people prefer buying with companies with similar values to them. That just reiterates that other data we saw earlier. In the last year, online video consumption has doubled from an average of 3 hours to nearly 7 hours per week. Once again, investment in video become critical. Now, the last two are massive. Consumers under 34 account for over a third of purchasing in the UK. So whilst I have said about the importance of don't forget those older demographics, that demographic of under 34-year-olds representing a third of purchasing in the UK, which will probably be social first. So it goes to show the power of in social and commerce. We're going to talk lots about that because ultimately this single factor is driving so much of these changes and new updates across these social platforms. And finally, 54% of e-commerce is expected to be driven by mobile into 2021. Wow, now that is big. E-commerce, which we know is absolutely massive. Thank you, Amazon, for that. But the fact that this will start to be driven by mobile starts to really lead into how people are going to be engaging with social, engaging with content through social, and making purchases through social. That we're going to see the dawn of something I talk about quite a lot, but it's called social commerce. And for me, I'm really excited about this because it starts to level the playing field, allowing smaller businesses to kind of have an opportunity to get themselves heard on social channels and drive purchasing, rather than it just being dictated by the horrendous monopoly that is Amazon. But I might have that viewpoint on Amazon, but I still use it most days. Anyway, most popular social networks. This is data actually from October because I can't find anything latest, but it gives you an idea of this is about daily active users, which is the most important metric, right? How many people are on. I don't think there's any huge surprises. There'll be ones you don't recognize because they're typically more Chinese focused variants. But realistically, the huge ones are on Facebook and YouTube. We often forget YouTube, 2 billion daily active users, but it's not considered enough in people's content strategies. So yeah, YouTube is critical. So with that's the trends. That's a bit of a whistle-stop tour of what's happened over the last 2 months. Digital trend wise, and how this is going to start impacting our businesses, the broader economy, and also now we're going to go on to how this is impacting all of the individual social media channels and the changes they've made as a result. Start with my fave, LinkedIn. With each of these platforms, I'm going to tell you the best times to post on each of these. So based on this data, always go with your own data. However, this is my caveat to this. If you don't have any data about best time to post, then go with this. But if you've got data that says something to the contrary based on your previous performance, ignore what I show you and go with what is unique to you. So that's the caveat. Anyway, best days on LinkedIn, middle of the week. Saturday and Sunday don't get the same amount of engagement. However, Saturday and Sundays on LinkedIn don't not consider them because they actually drive really good engagement for lighter topics. So actually, I've seen people perform really well on Saturday and Sunday, actually, because there's less competition for news feed space. And actually in the mornings of the weekend does actually work well. But fundamentally, and I've seen this, middle of the week, 10 to 11 works well. Lots of data on LinkedIn, actually. So there's some interesting things. Company page reach is dropping, but the personal profile content is still doing quite well. So that's an important strategic thing to think about. If all your content's going to your company page, think about folding into your personal profile into that, because that's the one that drives engagement. Click-through rate has gone up, which kind of feeds into the fact that more people are at home. They're not in an office at work, so they're not browsing LinkedIn. People are spending more time browsing LinkedIn now, which means the click-through rate has increased, which means better results for businesses. Average engagement rate has increased to 6%, which is a 1% year-on-year improvement. Average engagement rate ranges between 1 to 13%. If you want to look at yours, engagement rate is impressions divided by followers. So impressions divided by engagement, apologies. So we want to understand actually how's our company page doing. So if you want to run that analysis, that's always a good thing to do to benchmark. 706 million members, only about 50% of them, only about 50% of them are active. So it's about 350 million people that log in every day. 55 million companies. but the next three are kind of interesting points. 55% more conversation. So there's more happening on LinkedIn. There's more content being created, 60% more. And the biggest marketing ROI is anyone who's operating in technology, financial services, or education. So some good stuff within LinkedIn, actually. So LinkedIn is performing really well organically still. LinkedIn's new features, ability to create and subscribe to newsletters. This actually wasn't out in December or January. It was before, but I missed it. So if you have something regular that you want to say, so if you already operate a newsletter within your business, think about how you might want to fold in LinkedIn newsletters, because now you can have people subscribe explicitly to them and serve that content directly through LinkedIn. A great way to target a specific subset of people. So if people aren't opening their emails, it's a great way for you to improve distribution of your newsletter through LinkedIn. That's available now. Launch of post controls. So you can now control who can see your content as well as who can comment on your content. This is a similar move to what Twitter did a couple of months back, and it helps people post content in the safe space. So without fear of reprimand and the comments that will come back, you can now start to post, especially if you're doing kind of company posts and you don't want people to respond, you can now limit that with post controls. Product pages are coming out, but not available for everyone yet. For anyone that sells a product like we do at Content Cal, which is a business to business software, this is really powerful because essentially it allows your own product to have its own destination, its own page on LinkedIn, allows you to collect reviews, allows you to collect customer testimonials. And I think this is going to be really powerful. I'm really excited about this because it's going to really help facilitate reviews and testimonials for us. Stories on LinkedIn, they've now added the ability to add links so people can swipe up on a LinkedIn story and view that link. So that's powerful, and that's going to really help improve conversion. Definitely want to test. Limitation of it. So the caveat here, it's only available to people with more than 5,000 followers. So unless you're kind of John Asperian, you might not have this on your own personal profile, but it is available on all company pages. So it might be one to try. Instagram. So best times to post: Monday, Thursday, and Wednesday, either at lunchtime or in the afternoons. So Wednesday in particular is the best day, apparently Sunday being the worst. So all of this will come to you anyway. So I'll run through this, but we've got to keep on going. Shopping comes to Reels. They've been promising this for a while, but this is a really powerful thing. This plays into the whole kind of e-commerce thing. The fact that, a third of all commerce is driven from under 34s, and the fact that 54% of commerce is going to be driven through mobile. Those two killer stats that we mentioned at the beginning, absolutely playing into Instagram's strategy here. They've stolen a bit of a march on TikTok here because TikTok don't have this native shopping functionality. But here you could watch something on Reels, or you could post something of you demonstrating a product, and people can purchase it directly through product tags. So that's available now. Also, Reels is getting a lot of updates because it was massively behind the curve with TikTok. So there's a lot more kind of creation functions to simplify how we can create content. So the latest update is about audio editing, where you can add your own voice to voice over something, and also use a library of audio content. So a library of tracks for you to add to your Reels. They've introduced a professional dashboard, which is available now. So if you have a business account on Instagram, you could go to your professional dashboard. It will tell you analytics, how you compare against your competition, also give you suggestions for how you might improve, ideas of other stickers that you could use. So it's actually quite a nice check, just so you can have a look. If Instagram is your thing, have a look at your professional dashboard and it will give you some hints and tips. So yeah, top tip there. Facebook. Always towards the end of the week, Facebook works really well. And actually Saturday and Sunday was an interesting one for me because we don't post anything at the weekend. But actually, seeming here, we've got the best and the highest level of engagements happening on a Saturday and Sunday, particularly during 1 to 4 p.m. So you might want to consider this in your posting schedule to make sure you're factoring in days you might not often have considered, certainly from our perspective. Fundraising tools. So for anyone working in the charity or third sector, Facebook have done a fantastic amount with fundraising of late. So not only have they got like donation stickers, the ability to run a personal fundraiser, but now you can start sharing these fundraisers directly in a feed or a story, allowing people to donate directly to a chosen cause. Incidentally, Facebook have been responsible for over $100 million of donations to charities, all through these fundraising tools, all of which they've developed since last March. So yeah, kudos to them, because that's actually a fantastic tool for people that want to raise money, considering that many charitable endeavors have really struggled. Facebook and iOS 14. Now, this is a bit more kind of nerdy, and for those people that are doing Facebook advertising, this is a big challenge for advertisers, because if anyone's updated their iPhone to iOS 14, you'll notice that it's very explicit, that you can see in the right-hand side screenshot here, very explicit around what it's going to allow you to track. So typically, Facebook advertising has all been built of the fact that, let's say you were browsing a shop, you're browsing some shoes on, I don't know, next.com. Now, actually, next thing you find out, you're going onto Instagram, scrolling through, and hey presto, there's what you had in your basket, being retargeted to you. Now, that has been a staple of digital marketers, like toolkit, right? So driving intent, retargeting to drive purchase. But now with iOS 14, it's going to be very explicit to say, do you want Facebook to track you or not? Do you want Instagram to track you, whatever app? And if you say no, that's going to make Facebook advertising distinctly less accurate. It's going to mess up retargeting campaigns. So I'm no expert on Facebook advertising, but that's definitely one to keep an eye on, because it will be challenging. Anyone works in the automotive space, they've released a whole new load of tools for automotive advertisers. In fact, there's a huge, I can't remember the statistic, but so many car sales actually are initiated or done through social now, which is fascinating for such a high ticket price item. But what you can see in front of you is they're allowing like a kind of auto trader-y type inventory. So car dealers, manufacturers can list their whole inventory and allow people to search them. So as you can see, Facebook had obviously seen a big opportunity here and made it easier for those automotive advertisers. This is one that is applicable for most people, actually, and I love this. Branded Collabs Manager expands to public Facebook groups. What that basically means is made it easy for you to find other groups that are public facing that you could potentially work with. So here's a good example of what we're doing right now. Is that Lenka and I have become friends over the years, but Lenka runs Cambridge social media community, right? And ultimately, for business like ours, we want to be able to share understandings and our experiences of social media marketing. So it works really well to work in collaboration with someone who runs a group on Facebook, like Lenka. So that's really useful. But I only found Lenka by chance, back, I can't even remember how long ago it was now. But here, what this will allow you as a business to find groups. Let's say you run a cleaning company. You'll find groups for cleaning tips or household chore tips or whatever. And you can find now an opportunity through Branded Collabs Manager to work with those group owners to try and collaborate on some content that will both add value to your business and add value to that community. A fantastic way to get your content and your brand seen in channels you wouldn't have otherwise had access to. So this is a powerful one, available now. Changes to Facebook pages, you might have seen this already. They've removed the likes, only followers, and they've made it focus more on interaction. There's a focus on the Q&A section within pages, and a focus on the stuff that's going to be shown in the pages newsfeed now is more around like the comments that the page will leave, you as a page has left on other posts. So actually much more focus on delivering that interaction, encouraging pages really to comment on content, encouraging Q&A, encouraging interaction. So that's the main focus of Facebook. So going on to Twitter, it's all about during the week, and it's all about the lunchtime hour for where you're going to get results. They've launched audio spaces and they've integrated it with Fleets. As a reminder, Fleets is their approach to stories, which is available now. I wouldn't necessarily spend much time thinking about it unless you're already quite big on Twitter. Well, when I say big, or you have a reasonable base on Twitter, then I would consider it. But Audio Spaces is their approach to Clubhouse. I've mentioned Clubhouse a few times. It's very overhyped, to be honest. But ultimately, there's a few bets happening at the moment that the future of social is actually going to be audio first. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Maybe we'll have a discussion about Clubhouse at the end. I've got a few spare invites if anyone wants one, bear in mind, to see what all the fuss is about. Anyway, onto Pinterest. all about the weekend on Pinterest and all about the evening. So that clearly when kids have gone to bed and people looking at inspiration for their house, inspiration for dinners and foods, that kind of creative endeavor as very much serves at the weekend. But Pinterest, to be fair to them, and they don't get fair credit as far as I'm concerned, because like with Snapchat, they are the most forward-thinking social media channel. So if you are in a B2C type of orientated business and you focus on anything to do with the household or anything to do with food or exercise or very consumer-driven stuff, you really do need to be on Pinterest. And I don't say that lightly about many things. But what I love about Pinterest, for me, they're going towards what I would class as the panacea of social commerce. Really, the amazing opportunity that they're now offering, the fact that you could be scrolling content, and don't forget Pinterest content is discoverable via search as well, so via Google search. So let's say you were looking for a new eyeshadow, to use this example, and bear with me with this example, I'm not a professional eyeshadow shopper. So let's say you were looking for some eyeshadow. Pinterest is going to be brilliant at pulling back a whole load of inspiration from certain shops and vendors that are offering that. Now you can click on this and you can start to look at that individual's stories. Don't forget, stories are now available on Pinterest because you can look at the creator of that brand. So the small business that's offering these eyeshadows, you can get to learn about the brand and what they stand for. Now with these augmented reality try-on tools, as you can see in the middle screenshot, if you like one of these shades, these eyeshadow shades, you can start to try them on in augmented reality. So you can see, does that color suit you? Then you can make those purchases directly. You could either save it for inspiration later, that you can see in this third screenshot, or you could shop it and buy it directly off Pinterest. What an incredible experience that is for like mobile first commerce. And honestly, this has an opportunity to really trounce Amazon. And I'm excited about that because it levels the playing field for smaller businesses, that you can get discovered on something like Pinterest, find those different products that are right for you. You as a business can really start portraying yourself and portraying your values through stories and such. People can discover and save those items, and they can purchase those items directly after trying them on. What an amazing experience that is. And honestly, Pinterest and Snapchat are very much leading the curve. And to be honest, I think this is the direction of where mobile and social commerce is going. So it's kind of similar story a little bit with YouTube. So they're testing some automatic chapters. Unless you're doing YouTube, that doesn't mean anything to you at the moment, but helps you organize long form video into multiple different chapters. They're adding product tags to video for e-commerce functionality, not available for everyone yet, but that means that, like we just saw with Instagram Reels and with Pinterest, if you're talking about a particular product in a video, you can tag that product and allow people to make purchases of that product directly from that video without leaving the content itself. The perfect marriage of content and commerce. They're launching hashtag pages. So if you're on YouTube already, or you're starting to use YouTube as a strategy, definitely look at these hashtag pages so you can see what hashtags and what types of content is trending. YouTube Shorts is delivering fantastic results for those creators. You can see, don't know if you can actually see that, but some view counts are up in the 14 million range. It's very much getting the same level of traction as TikTok, but the key difference here is Shorts isn't available to everyone, only with people with 10,000 subscribers. So that's out of the way of most mere mortals. If you're on YouTube, however, best time to post Thursday and Friday, really to post early, getting your content ready for the weekend, which is where the viewing happens. So mentioned TikTok a few times. This business got awarded best SMB use of TikTok. So I think it's a good example actually for small businesses to use. So if you look at Lucky to Live Here, if you have a TikTok account, it's a really nice approach and actually a reasonably achievable approach for a real estate agent using TikTok to market their products and market their business. They do a really good job. And I think that sets a really nice precedent that actually small businesses can make it work and you don't have to do everything through the medium of dance. They've also launched a small business resource center, which again, if you're starting to think about TikTok, definitely want to have a look at to inspire you with some creative direction you could take. And TikTok is also, it's on its way to 1 billion users, which is insane. It'll be the fastest app to hit 1 billion users. And it's surged past Facebook in time spent on the app. So average time people spend on Facebook app per month is 16 hours and TikTok is now 20 hours. So, the growth isn't going anywhere. TikTok's also launched a TV app in partnership with Samsung. So if you have a smart TV, you'll know that you can have apps on there. So TikTok have launched one of those, and I think it's a really smart move, actually. It allows people to kind of consume content in a much more passive way, just like they're watching TV, and be just shown content in the feed. And this is also going to really help TikTok just get bigger and bigger, because it's a very different approach to social. And it's kind of similar to YouTube in this way, where you could just put on a video and it would just carry on showing you content, which isn't the same for the other channels. When I say other channels, I mean other social platforms. And they're launching a new Q&A feature as well, just to encourage more audience interaction. Onto Google, it's not social media specifically, but we do need to factor it into our social media campaigns. So this is just a test at the moment, but I think it's a really interesting signal, is that they're testing adding short videos to search results. So this was found early January, where some people's search results had these short videos from Insta and TikTok, etc. So it goes to show actually how your social content can in the future start to impact your SEO and search results. So really interesting one to note. Excuse me. Onto WhatsApp. Only one thing from WhatsApp, but from an e-commerce business perspective, definitely one to consider. This is available on WhatsApp Business. This example is a good one to use. So someone could be on Sandra's Cakes website. And remember, you can have like the WhatsApp Messenger on your website if you want to. It allows people to interact with you. When they interact with you, let's say this is Sandra's Cakes, you have now the ability to have your full product inventory through WhatsApp. So, if someone's gone to your website, they've clicked this little chat button, that then opens up WhatsApp, of which they can then start to look at your inventory. It's called a catalog on WhatsApp. People can look through the products that you have, that you're offering. They can chat with you to say, oh, is this in stock? Could you do this in, different flavors, colors, or whatever? And now it allows you to add that to a cart and purchase directly through WhatsApp. So from a consumer perspective, an amazing experience, because they don't have to leave WhatsApp. They can do the interaction, they can buy things without having to go through lots of different tools. And from a business perspective, so if it suits a business like yourselves, that's a fantastic opportunity and a real nice way to smooth the checkout experience for your users. Once again, reinforcing this whole kind of mobile commerce thing. On to Snapchat. I was going to see how we're doing for time, but I can't find my phone. Anyway, some really interesting, even if Snapchat's not your thing, I think the dynamics in this are really interesting. So this is from Snapchat's report that they put out in January. So Snapchat reaches 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds in the UK. 90%. Insane. And apparently this generation between 13 to 24 is the largest generation in history. Had no idea. 249 million daily active users in the UK, which is an 18% year-on-year increase. 60% are open to paying more for sustainable clothes. Seems a random one to put down there, but actually that talks perfectly to what we were talking earlier about, that brands, individuals have more of a tendency to purchase from brands that share a similar purpose and all values to them. And it goes to show actually this generation, actually, without wanting to make too many generalizations around a generation, actually has more cognizance about, does a brand do good and do I want to purchase from them? So I think that's actually a really interesting dynamic to think about. 180 million people engage with augmented reality each day. But the fact is, it doesn't feel like augmented reality. Just like we saw with Pinterest, like a virtual try on is great. Oh, great. I can see what this eyeshadow looks like. And that's what people are doing every day. 60% of people in the UK make online purchases through Snapchat. So it goes to show that this demographic are perfectly happy with making purchases on their phone off the back of content that's produced. Lots of people watching video, and as with Pinterest, virtual try-ons are the most popular format. So from a retail brand, Snapchat and Pinterest are very much leading the e-commerce charge, and they're setting the precedent for what we'll see. Facebook, well, Instagram will be the next to follow, but Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook will all be following this trajectory of social commerce. Clubhouse raises new funding, so there's now valued at $1 billion, and they're now starting to monetize it for creators. As I said, jury's out a bit on Clubhouse. I mean, it's overhyped, but there is good opportunity in it. There's a lot that's happening around audio first social, so we do need to think about it. So Twitter's audio spaces, they bought a podcasting app called Breaker. And then there's a product called Discord as well, which has 100 million users, which used to be a gaming focused community, but now it's like this audio social networking for everyone. So you might not have heard about that. It's obviously a lot bigger than Clubhouse, but hasn't got the same PR. So yeah, jury's out. We can talk about that another time. Also happy for Q&A, but we have made it. Congratulations if you made it this far. If you do want to kind of go a bit deeper into how do all of these changes, how can I implement them in my business? I run a whole load of strategy sessions. So these are free drop-in strategy sessions. So you're welcome to be part of them. I run them, I think 2 a week, I typically do. So if you want to be part of that, you're welcome. But otherwise, I hope this was useful, and any questions, I'm here for you. Lenka, if you're there.
Wow, yes, I'm just taking a deep breath because this was always such a jam-packed session. Great content. We got great comments in the chat and everything. So I will go ahead with the questions.
Yeah, sure.
First question is talking about Clubhouse. I know that Alex is all about Clubhouse. He's really into it right now. So he's asking about Clubhouse IPO.
Yeah. Well, it won't. It's not going to list for a little while because it's just literally raised this funding, and they'll want to list at somewhere well north of $1 billion. That's for sure. You know, in an industry like this, it seems crazy where $1 billion actually isn't that much. It's just insane. So it will get big, and I think, like I say, it's overhyped, but I'm finding myself spending about an hour on it per day. I need to probably join some of Alex's rooms because they'll probably be better. Like with anything, it's like trying to curate your feed and find the right people to follow. For me personally, I love longer form, like deeper content. So actually, I mean, for that reason, I am enjoying Clubhouse, I would say. But yeah, will it stick and stand the test of time rather than it just being a novelty? I think the jury's definitely out on that, because once we can start to go out of our houses and do more fun things, I expect to see there'll be a chink in its growth. That's for sure.
Absolutely. It's an interesting place to be. Definitely something to, if you have the time or if you have the headspace and if you have the ability to join in, it's interesting. For me, it replaced watching Facebook Lives and listening to podcasts. So for me, I replaced one type of consumption with this. Yeah. But in terms of the long-term business strategy purpose, that's still early to say. We had a question about talking about the older demographics, and I think it was Tana who was asking, is this number of older demographics more dominant on a particular channel?
Great question. And a particular channel is Facebook, definitely. Although if you look at the TikTok's demographics, they are changing. And you can I haven't covered that in this session, but like for any channel, just search like TikTok demographics and you'll find data related to it. We know Facebook is the platform that you'll find the slightly older demographics on, to be honest. But I don't have any particular data to back that up any further.
Yeah, okay. Interesting question from Claire asking about Facebook fundraising tools. Do you need to work this from a business page, or can it be done by an individual? Do you have any insights into how can set up the fundraising and work with the fundraising tools?
Great. So whilst I don't know all of the specifics offhand, because it's not something that we need to use, so I would definitely just Google Facebook fundraising tools, and there are a whole lot, heaps of resources about that. But you can do this from a personal profile as well, so not necessarily a company page. That's the thing I do know. Awesome.
Another kind of a question, where to find what, is question about professional dashboard on Instagram, which is, I'll be honest, this is the first time I'm hearing about it as well. And where do you find it?
To be honest with you, I had to Google it to be shown where to find it. So that's going to be my answer on this one. Google, because there's a whole support document around it. Because I just found it through browsing Facebook support documents. It was not marketed at all. So I found it by accident. So if you just Google
it's
Instagram,
interesting
find it.
because I open my Instagram app and it's actually hiding in a plain sight. It's straight on top of your profile. There is a link that says your profile. It's there on your profile on the top. It is there. I opened my app, was doing the same. Where is it? And I'm like, view professional dashboard. It's straight in your face.
Amazing.
That we don't read. I don't know how long it's been there, but literally now I opened the app and it's like, it's staring at me.
There you go. There you go. Change it. The thing is, there's a micro change nearly every day, and it will vary between different apps. Everyone's going to be on slightly different versions because they test stuff all the time. So, yeah, all that stuff is fascinating. That's for sure. But
they do roll out the features on a different basis, and I do have like 5 different Instagram accounts for my clients and for myself. And for example, for my own personal creator account, I still don't have Reels. But for others, I do get all the features immediately, which is so frustrating. That for my clients, I can use all the features. For myself, I can't. So I can't practice on myself. I have to practice on my clients.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But yeah, it's a perfect example of this is a challenge. It's like all this stuff, and everyone's going to have slightly different capabilities, but they all eventually roll out to everyone. But I'm very surprised you don't have Reels, Lenka. That's for sure.
I'm surprised too, but honestly, I've realized that for my personal account, there's something wrong. I do have it as a creator account. But yeah, I usually get the features like 2 years later. It's just frustrating. It takes forever to get.
Oh no.
Another question is there a certain amount of posts per week you can recommend for LinkedIn, or just to extend the question to any of the platforms? Is there something of that sort that you could recommend on a general basis?
For LinkedIn, I can speak to that. And bear in mind, any of this kind of advice is very time specific because it can change with the changes on platforms. So it's always worthwhile. That's why we do this thing every month, because there are slight changes. So I'll speak to LinkedIn. I used to do 1 post a day, but I now get better results over the course of a week doing 3 posts a week. The reason for that is because LinkedIn's really good at serving stuff after the day that it's been posted. So on typical other platforms, you only got a small time window for people to engage with it, so it'll be shown to more people. Where on LinkedIn, it's a lot more generous with organic reach. So for example, like I'll post Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, but the reason the most important post I put out is on a Tuesday, which is my kind of video thing that I do. But actually giving it an extra day where I haven't posted anything in between, because every time you post, you're now competing with yourself as to what LinkedIn's going to be showing. So now I've given it an extra day that allows that video post that I do on a Tuesday to get more traction, get more comments, and then as a result, get a whole heap more views. So in fact, I've seen a 50% increase in the views of the post I put out on every Tuesday now that I don't do a post on a Wednesday. So hopefully that gives you a bit of anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions we've got before, and I will be nicely playing into your court, is what are the updates to the most popular scheduling apps, and which one would you recommend?
Well, yeah, I'm far too biased because, well, one, I won't know all of the updates that's happened to all of our competitors. I'll recommend Content Cal because I can't ever not. But yeah, there's a whole. I won't go through all the updates because this is not a Content Cal specific session. But the 2 things that you do need to know is that we now support like blogs and emails to be created through Content Cal, so it's not just social. Allows you to create all of the content. And next week we launch a new community management platform, which will be really good for encouraging more interaction and better engaging with your community. And thirdly, there's going to be a huge update to analytics, which will be out within the next month. So some very exciting stuff happening this end. But yeah, that's all I'll say about Content Cal, because you know where to find us, and we're always happy to take you on a tour if you need it.
Yeah, which is exciting because the moment I asked the question, I saw that we have a comment from Eva asking about Content Cal, if any of the social media updates force you guys to make big changes at your end and stuff like that. So good thinking, Eva. We're there at the same page.
Exactly.
One of the questions that definitely keeps coming back. It's towards Facebook advertising and their issue with Apple.
Mm-hmm.
So could you just give us a quick update on where you stand and what does it mean for us?
So I think probably everything that I said when I covered like the iOS 14 update just earlier in this session kind of stands.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's going to have a massive issue. And I think, to be honest, we're going to see a lot of this battle between a few tech giants, Google, Apple, Facebook. We're going to see some battles between all three of them. That won't be pretty. So I think it's one for us to keep an eye on. In terms of the full implications of the iOS 14 update, I don't know, because I'm no advertising professional. I would definitely recommend you reading more into it. The long story short, however, is the people are very now wary of the data that businesses hold on them, especially Facebook. You can thank the Netflix documentaries for that. And rightly so. It's nice that people are fully aware of that. And it's just going to mess up retargeting models predominantly, because now you won't be able to track people and serve them relevant content. For me, I see it as a bit of a shame, to be honest, because being served stuff that you're interested in is actually a useful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's just my opinion. And Apple are really very much taking a stand, and they know that this is a direct swipe at Facebook. So yeah, it's a bit political.
Yeah, definitely is. And obviously there is a cost for having personalized advertising, having everything to be served to you based on your preferences. There is a cost that you can't have one or without the other. You either have to be willing to share your data or not get such a great targeting for content.
Yeah, so it will ultimately mean there'll be increased cost per click, basically, because we won't be as targeted. So we can't serve micro audiences well enough, so that if we're not collecting the data to know exactly who our audiences are, we're going broader with our message. Naturally, conversions will go down. When conversions go down, our cost per click will end up going up. So yeah, it will increase the price of advertising, I would expect.
Yeah. Continuing with slightly political conversation, Alex is asking, what are your thoughts on whether Facebook will be forced to carve up their ownership of other platforms, and if that were to happen, your opinion on this?
To be honest, I don't know. It's all conjecture. So I don't really want to comment too much on things that I don't know for certain. I think the only thing I will say is that I would have thought that Facebook, with 3 billion active users, or 3 billion users, not all active, with 3 billion users, you'd think they're too big to fail. What you've just seen now is that the biggest chink in Facebook's armor is the fact that everyone accesses Facebook through a phone. So if Google and Apple start to turn the screw on Facebook, then that does create a very interesting dynamic. That's for sure. Yeah, so nothing's going to change this year. I don't know. I think conjecture. There's going to be a lot more press around this stuff, but fundamentally, I think as business owners, I put this out of my mind because ultimately we'll still continue as we are. It's not going to change anything in the short term other than advertising. So I try not to concern myself too much with it, if I'm honest.
Awesome. I will encourage everyone, if you have another question, leave it in the comments. We have a couple minutes. If not, I have one closing question to you, Andy, and that's, out of all those news and updates and changes, when it comes to you as a part of a startup, as a small business owner, what would be the number one kind of change that really seems important and impactful for 2021 going forward in your perspective?
I'll pick two, because one, we serve a B2B business. So that data that I showed you about the importance of businesses starting to invest more in organic content. So naturally, that's great, because we love community building, as you do too, Lenka. So I'm really excited about the fact that there's going to be a diminished everyone just went to paid advertising just because I was like, oh, brilliant, it's easy to do. Chuck some money in Facebook and, get some clicks. But actually, I think what we've seen is a bit of a shift in this, where it's actually about long-term brand growth people are considering, about how we build community. And that's now going into a B2B world. So I find that very exciting, because, that's not going to go away. How people consume content, how you drive affinity, how you create a community. Community is your fundamental, that's your foundation of your business. And I love the fact that businesses are waking up to that fact. So that's personal to content, Cal. Point 2 is around, like I've been saying all throughout this, is social commerce. That's the thing that's going to be transformative to businesses, following like Pinterest lead. And what Pinterest are doing, whilst they're on a very much the bleeding edge. I don't expect everyone to set up Pinterest shops tomorrow, but how we can start to see all of the trends orientating towards this mobile commerce. And I'm very excited that the fact that small businesses now will actually have a really good platform to play on, where they don't have to, lose business continually to Amazon just for convenience. So that's what I'm excited about, those two things.
Awesome. Got a couple more questions. One is from Sophie asking on your thoughts, how often to post on TikTok?
For me, I have zero expertise in TikTok. So I'm sorry, Sophie, I'll have to let you down on that one because I do not know. So yeah, you need a TikTok expert for that one. I just follow.
Well, definitely, if there is a demand, if everyone is jumping on the TikTok trend and trying to carve some space for themselves in this video kind of fast-paced world, then we will definitely have an expert. I will say we did have a kind of TikTok 101 introduction session last year with Becca. So we'll link later on the session. I can't recall straight away if she mentioned the frequency, but she definitely gave a great overview of how to start with TikTok for business, and we might get her back this year to do an update on what's new and how it's working and what she's learned over another year on being on TikTok. So great question, Sophie. Sorry we don't have a more specific answer, but we'll figure it out for you. We'll find the answer, or we will find an expert to help you. Claire is asking, have you used the Q&A feature on Facebook? Do you have any best tips on how to use it?
So one, yes, I have. Any best tips? Not really outside of the obvious stuff, because all of these things are not like rocket science or any kind of science behind it. It's a case of asking sensible questions regularly that will prompt the best discussion, and the best Q&As are always things that are marginally polarizing. So that would be my thing. If you want to get people really commenting on something, not to be deliberately provocative, but Q&As that will encourage interaction, where people are very passionate and take a stand on something. So whatever that is in your industry. So as an example, in our industry, a good topic of Q&A would be, is paid social dead? There's at any point in paid social anymore? Q&A, because now there'll be a lot of people that spend their time relying on it, and that's their job and that's their business. So naturally, you'll hear a lot of good points around that. But the same for the people that kind of represent more kind of organic content. Those kind of Q&A, those things that will polarize opinion, drive fantastic interaction. And as long as you've got a really nice group and a really nice, you need to moderate this stuff, so make sure it doesn't, go out of hand. But yeah. Polarizing is always the Q&A kind of questions you want, not like the vanilla ones where everyone agrees with each other.
Yeah, awesome. Claire says it's so helpful. Thank you. And we'll take last question from Eva. She's asking, where are you finding more detailed social media updates? We see she checks your LinkedIn videos and weekly updates, but she's more curious on where you're taking these resources. What are your sources for this information?
So my sources, because they're all in this deck, so you can have this deck. And it really is, I subscribe to Social Media Today, so socialmediatoday.com. We Are Social Media is another site. So I get a daily digest email from there. So not all of these facts are good. Some of these are from massive reports that it takes like an hour to read and to get some of the data points out of. The problem with these reports, they're like 90% waffle and 10% real good stuff. So, sometimes I just have to put in the hard yards to get some of the data points. But the social media updates, We Are Social Media Today, and I subscribe to Matt Navarra's newsletter as well. So they're the kind of three things that if you want to get your stuff on a daily or weekly basis, go there.
Yeah, I would definitely say for me, your updates and Matt Navarra's Decode newsletter, and I've got all I need. It's kind of digested for me. I don't need to go through all the reports, but obviously you always share all your sources and links. Even LinkedIn, you always have, this was the report, this was the thing. So there will be everything in there. So I think that's it for the questions. If you have any further questions, leave them in the comments. Andy is always around and checking what's happening. I'm just putting his offer again up there. So if you want to have a chat, want to understand a bit better how to do this, make sure that you book a strategy session. I will be sharing the slide deck. I will be sharing the links. I will be sharing everything in the comments and in the description, in the follow-up communication. So you will get all of that. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us and watching live and commenting. And thank you, Andy, for a brilliant hour session. Hour ahead like this, I can see so many people getting ready to sign up to Pinterest now.
Good. I've done my sales job for them. Nice. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for such brilliant questions.
Thank you. See you guys next week. Bye.
Later.